Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian and this is my Paladin controller guide. In this guide, I'm going to break down how I've configured my controller, how I've set up my hotbars, what macros I'm using, and so much more. However, if this guide doesn't answer all of your questions, be sure to let me know in the comments below or check out our Discord server if you're looking for any additional help or for people to team up with in this amazing game. Anyway, if you're a returning subscriber, what's up Soul Nation? Thanks for coming back and checking out this video, and I do want to say thanks to all my channel members for keeping mid-roll ads off the channel. Their names are here on the screen, so be sure to say thanks to a channel member for making this hopefully a more enjoyable experience. I think it's important that in this guide we start out at the beginning with character configuration, and we're going to go into the hotbar settings for the game itself. Now I'm going to cover a lot of these settings, so again, if you want to just jump to my hotbar layout, check the description or the playhead of this video and you can jump right to whatever section that you're looking for. But as far as my layout goes, I have this hide unassigned slots. If I uncheck that, you can see I've got lots of little floating hotbars here, and I'll show you my HUD layout here in just a little bit. I also have turned off display hotbar numbers. This helps keep those little numbers like just kind of displaying and floating around the screen. Really up to you on what you prefer, but that's how I've got mine set up. Now that's pretty much basic. You can always change the layout and the look of your different hotbars by any of these different settings. Let's say hotbar 3, for example, which is what I'm using right here. If I wanted to say it was a double stack or a triple stack, something of that nature, you can easily play around and get the best UI set up for your personal experience. Also, as a part when we get to the layout section of this guide, if you just make it your own. I'm just going to help hopefully set the stage. And if you find something more comfortable or a little bit more memory, muscle memory focused, like go with that. Find what works for you, and hopefully this is just kind of a way to kind of get you right in playing Paladin on the controller itself. Under the sharing tab, I only have hotbar 7 and 8 shared for my cross hotbar, and for my regular hotbars, like if you're on keyboard and mouse, I have 8, 9, and 10 shared. Everything else is job specific. So if I switch over to a Dark Knight, for example, then you'll find that it's like the skills and everything is specific for Dark Knight, except for 7 and 8, which are shared. This is great for mounts, minions, all of that. So play around with that. I'll show you guys how I've got that set up under the custom tab here in just a second. The cross tab is really where all the magic happens. This is really where it's important. I use hold mode. You can also play around with toggle and mix mode. I would recommend hold. If you have difficulty with the controller, or if it's just not comfortable and you need to play around with something, maybe try toggle, maybe try mix. Toggle means when you press the button it actually acts active until you press it again, where hold means you have to hold it down and release it to be able to activate the different hotbars down here. A mix is a blend of both, but by turning any of these on, you will lose access either to the W cross hotbar or the expanded cross hotbar, which is left trigger and right trigger, etc. So you have even more hotbars hidden and easily accessible here in the game itself. Now my settings here, I've got always display the W cross hotbar, return to cross hotbar input after W cross hotbar. So this is perfect for things like cooldowns, rampart right there. Now I'm right back into my rotation, very easy and ready to rock and roll. And then you can also say position your cross hotbar separately. In this case, mine's not really doing that much, but if I wanted to resize things and play around with it, I could do so right that way. Then over here under the custom tab, this is where everything is linked. More often than not, I'm asked, how do you drag and drop a skill onto the expanded cross hotbar, the W cross hotbar here? And the answer is, unfortunately, you can't. These are just like windows, mirrors into another reality, another dimension. I'm just kidding. They're actually set up to your different hotbars here. So you can see here left and right, or actually using my cross hotbar 3, left and 3 right. So if I kind of click off that window and I go down to 3, you'll see that they're just the same. If I go ahead and just move a skill, you can see that it just moves easy breezy and you're ready to rock and roll. So just kind of pay attention to that. You won't be able to put anything on these windows no matter where they are. You have to manage them actually with what is 3 left and 3 right. Now for my expanded, you can see here I use 2 left and then I use 7 right. What this means is that if I hold LT and then RT, I've got additional skills. This is great for like ranged and things that I don't have to use as often, but are often needed, especially when playing. And having anything on your A, B, X, and Y or square, circle, cross, triangle buttons, that's going to allow and give you way more movement in the game. So you can be able to move and you can be able to easily execute skills as needed. So pay attention to that. That's going to be very important for you. We'll cover that more in the targeting section later in this video. But anyway, to the left, those are my skills. Now on the left trigger, or the right trigger and the left trigger, you'll see I've got my Wondrous Tales. You'll see I've got mounts. You see I have sprint. You see I have limit break. You see I have these targeting macros, which I'll show you those here later in the video as well. But that allows me to have that across all of my jobs, no matter whether I'm tanking, healing, doesn't matter. I've got it set up and they're always in the same spot. So I don't really have to think about it. It just becomes something that I memorize, some muscle memory to the game itself. Also down here, which is just as important, enable customization for when weapon is sheathed and for when weapon is drawn is set. What this means, and I'll go ahead and close this window, what this means is that when my weapon is sheathed, I can press R1 or R bumper and it's going to tab between the different sets. You have 8 sets for the controller listed down below. Now if I pull out my weapon, let's say I'm on 7, it, normally if my weapon was sheathed, it'd go to 8, but now it's going to go to 1. And if I keep tapping it, it's always going to go to 1. This is going to prevent my, kind of accidentally clicking something and then finding myself on a different, like, oh my God, I'm on 2. Oh wait, where's my skill? And then, kind of having one of those oh no moments in the game itself. So just kind of keep that in mind. Looks like I've hit this dummy. Let me go ahead and reset its enemy because we'll go ahead and talk about targeting just here in a little bit. So before we go into targeting and skills, let's go into our beautiful HUD layout. And this is where all the other magic kind of happens. The goal of the HUD, and this is just my layout, but the goal of this should be to give you the information you need so you're not having to look over the screen or, look too far. If you think about it, especially when things get intense, usually your vision tends to focus in on it. So if you think of kind of starting at these inner squares and working your way out, you want to start to feed yourself information that you need to know to make it most important so you don't have to go beyond kind of that focused vision. This is one of the reasons why we laugh at Dragoons, calling them floor tanks. You get so focused in on a rotation, you end up maybe not even seeing the bad stuff below your feet. It can happen beyond Dragoon, but that's just the fun that we like to have with that meme. Over here, I've got hotbar 3. You do not click on any of these skills. These are just to communicate cooldowns for you. This is just what you want to feed yourself, especially if it's on the expanded cross hotbar. Is there something that's on a cooldown that's not normally on your hotbar? That's what I tend to prioritize, but it's not a one-to-one case. I want to also make sure that, hey, do this ability. This ability is active. Don't forget about it, especially with a paladin. And there's some things we'll cover that a little bit here in a second. Cross hotbar 3 left, right, limit gauge down here, experience bar, all that's not as important, but the enemy list right here is very important, especially as a tank. Everybody should be red on that list. Overall, like you can see, I've got just different floating hotbars, my party list. All of this is pretty standard, and I kind of use the same setup per job, but if you want to have different layouts, you can easily do so via kind of the role, or what I kind of call the roles. You get 4 different setups that you can play around with, and you can actually change these with macros. We're not going to go over that in a video, but people are requesting more macro style guides, so pay attention to that later on the channel. If you haven't subbed here and I earn it with either this video or another one, let me know in the comments below so I can welcome you to the Soul Nation officially. Anyhow, that's the HUD layout overview. Really where this is going to be bread and butter is coming down into your your target acquisition. As a tank, especially if I get hate on 2 different enemies, a couple different ways I can do this. Holding down left or right trigger, I can use the bumpers to tab between the different enemies. Left and right bumper will do so accordingly. So if you got a couple different enemies and you need to switch because you're losing hate on some, I recommend continually to do AoE rotations. That tends to be a big help, but just note that it's important to be able to do that. The other thing you can do is hold down L1 and you can then target through your enemy list. And you can see here now I'm selecting this one. I can press A and now I'm doing kind of what's called a hard target. And then if I do this with the circle, that's considered a soft target, as far as it goes whenever you're kind of playing the game. You'll get a good feel for this. This kind of helps with mouse over stuff like that later, especially if you're a keyboard and mouse player. And if you are, controller's better. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. I love you though. Okay, so that's a little bit on target acquisition, but something that can end up being very helpful when it comes down to targets itself is your filters. And this is kind of the last section before we go into our skills and our macros. Character configuration, control settings, and filters. When my weapon is sheathed, I want to target with my D-pad left and right all of these different things. When my weapon is drawn, I want to target just enemies in this case. You can always cycle through yourself and party members by actually using the up and down. That's why you see I turn off party members from my target acquisition even when my weapon is sheathed. I don't want to accidentally target them if I'm using left and right to kind of cycle through different targets. So here I am, weapon sheath, and I'm just like, hey, here's my Here's my farm. Here's my different targeting dummies. Weapons out. Only targeting dummies left and right. So that's going to help keep that focus going on from there. You can always just also press A or like circle or X. I don't know which one it is on PlayStation. You can do that and it's going to select your nearest target. So again, if I can put this away, especially whenever you're like out and about and on a patch day when there's a lot of people around an NPC, you just need to run up and press A. You don't have to worry about hitting left and right on the D-pad to target them. It's going to focus in on what is the most important NPC target for you at that time. It might guess wrong, but more often than not, it guesses exactly what I need it to, and it's very comfortable. Okay, now you guys hopefully have waited patiently for the skill overview, and that's where this is going to begin. Up here on the bar to communicate these cooldowns, I've got Passage of Arms. This is a great party defensive buff, 2-minute cooldown. You can see here it's going to put that cone before you. If I go ahead and fire this off, which is right here, you can see that on the expanded cross hotbar, that's going to do this wonderful effect and allow me to protect anybody standing in the cone behind me. Honestly, it feels very appropriate for the job at hand. If you move, it's going to cancel it out. So just note, this is great, especially when you know big hits are coming. Do not sleep on that. Atonement is a great, powerful weapon skill. This is something you want to get as a part of your rotation. We'll kind of cover Fast Blade, Riot Blade, and Royal Authority. That combo is going to open up Atonement. What I did here is I've put Atonement right here to access, and namely just because I wanted the ability to move around and not forget this. When it's on a D-pad, it doesn't necessarily work, and I hope future upgrades or updates to the game will move Atonement into some kind of upgradable Royal Authority ability or something like that. I think Paladin would end up benefiting from some changes on the controller, but overall I want to make sure I don't drop an Atonement when it's up, and I wanted to make sure I can move freely when doing so. Atonement, then you have Intervene. This is essentially your gap closer ability. You can see I've got all my gap closers in the same spot. If you've seen any of my other controller guides, you'll know they're always in the same spot, so that way I don't have to think about how to close the gap. Then I've got Requisite. This is the best, most amazing. This is actually really where Paladin comes together full force. You can see here it's a level 68 ability. So if you're using this as even as you level, you can preset these abilities, and just note 68 is really where I think Paladin really starts to come into its own, because this is going to change. This is going to have that true Paladin feel, both the sword and shield and the magic, the healing side of it. This is going to increase your magic and healing power by 50% if your current MP is over 80%. So just got to be paying attention where that's at. If it's also as your potency of this skill will increase as your maximum your HP is near maximum as well. So it by default it's 150, but it could be up to 550 potency, which is a powerful attack itself. This also makes it to where you can cast spells instantly, and this also enables it so that you can actually use Confederate, which is your level 80 ability, which is also a very powerful attack, especially from an AoE perspective, 800 potency there. So note that this is a very important ability as a part of your rotation, and it's a 60-second cooldown, so there is a general magic window as a part of your main rotation for the Paladin. Then you have Reprisal. This is going to reduce the damage dealt by enemies by 10%. It's perfect as an off tank, but it's also AoE, so if you're doing big pulls, this works great to really help reduce all that damage. And then Low Blow is a stun. Again, these are just the things that I want to make sure that I'm very well aware of where they are in my rotation as well as my play style. On the W cross hot bar left, I have Fight or Flight, Holy Spirit, Holy Circle, and Confederate. These are my magic spells, and I want to be able to fire these off even if I'm doing an AoE rotation. It just depends on very situational. And the fact is I want to be able to use these, and even if it's just a double tap to use it, if I'm using Requisite, I want to put them here because you can see them listed here as well, and they're on the D-pad. And sometimes that's not as comfortable, and that's just the compromise I've had to make with being a controller Paladin in this case. You'll also notice Fight or Flight in the same spot on both sides. Here's kind of my single target rotation, my magic rotation right here. So that works out well. I want to be able to increase my damage dealt physically by 25%, but also same kind of applies here if I'm doing an AoE rotation. It just saves me extra taps and a little extra clicks just a couple times, and that's why you see that listed both places. On the left-hand side, I've got we'll start here with the kind of the AB, the movement abilities. I've got my AoE rotation, Total Eclipse, and Prominence. This is a combo. Plus Circle of Scorn. This is going to be a great ability. If I go drop it down on these guys, it's going to put a dot on them for 15 seconds. This is incredible. So you can continue to AoE, and then every 25 seconds you can also Scorn, which especially when you're in tank stance is going to help you continue to generate more hate. Now you can see I don't have it on. Hate is Iron Will. Let's go ahead and pop that. That's also part of that expanded hotbar. We'll cover that more in detail. But here I am being, a tank. I'm generating hate, AoE pools, being able to circle, scoring every 25 seconds. And again, when you think about it, you can do this every 25 seconds. It lasts 15 seconds, pretty much only 10 seconds of downtime in this dot. And you can see here it's just putting out that damage every 3 seconds on these 2 targets. And it's not an insignificant amount. You can see here roughly it's about 1,000 on each tick based off of these targets and my current gear level. So just play around and have some fun with that. Then you've got Divine Veil. This is a great skill, except for the fact that it ends upon receiving additional healing recovery. So this is great if you want to help out your healers or if you want to help out yourself. This is also going to help prevent damage up to 10% of your maximum HP with that curing barrier effect. So basically, you put this on, you get healed, it's going to put a barrier on you and any allies within 15 yalms of a radius, and that's going to be up to 10% of your maximum HP, so it's a pretty significant barrier. So it's a really good skill to have. It's on a 90-second cooldown, so this is great for big pools, this is great for just general boss mitigation and more. Then you have Cover. This is going to allow you to pick a party member and basically take their damage for them. This is great. Honestly, I would make sure that if you want to macro this, macro it to your healer first and foremost, because if your healer's alive, chances are you guys are going to be just fine. But if you don't have any like res mages, red mage, or summoners, things like that, you might, and your healer's down in a 4-man, good luck. Anyway, and then you have Shelter on. This is going to block incoming attacks, and it's going to last for 6 seconds. This is triggered off of my gauge that you can see here, right here. As I fight and do things, I get points. Then this costs 50 points, and I can use it to block incoming attacks for 6 seconds. Then I have Intervention. This is basically allow me to reduce the party member's damage taken by 10%. This also increases damage reduction by another 50% if Rampart or Sentinel are either active. So this is beautiful to help shield another either party member or like if you're doing 8-man content with 2 tanks, perfect to be able to pop that shield on them at any time. So if you see like a big tank buster coming in, if you want to take the hit, you can take cover for them. Or Intervention is also another great ability to help prevent damage. And if you stack that with Rampart and Sentinel, you're going to be, all the better for it. On the right hand side, as a part of our single rotation and magical rotation perspective, you've got Fast Blade, Riot Blade, and Goring Blade. That's one combo, and then you also have Fast Blade, Riot Blade, and Royal Authority, which will trick Atonement. That's typically, I like to try to group my AoEs together on the left hand side and my single target on the right hand side, but Atonement is special because of its potency and the fact that you have to do this combo to get 3 stacks of it, so that way you want to be able to use this on the move to be able to get out of dodge, because the fact is, this actually lasts for quite a bit. You're going to have plenty of time to knock out those 3 stacks of Atonement when this combo happens. Anyway, you also don't sleep on Goring Blade. It's got a 21-second, especially when you combo this with this, you can have a lot of dots on targets with Goring Blade, and it's quite potent, so please don't sleep on that. All right, so as far as it goes, Requisite, Holy Spirit. One of the best things about this spell, like I said, is it makes things instacast. So if I use Requisite here, I got plenty of MP, so I'm going to get the full potency of that. Now I can Holy Spirit. I can also Holy Spirit up here. And again, you can see I can move around and I can target the target. What's important here is that's where you also want to make sure you've got enough to be able to fire off your level 80 ability Confederate. That's a part of that combo, and that's going to be kind of what finishes it off. It does take 2,000. All of these spells take 2,000. You have 10,000. So you can fire off several Holy Spirits in the time of Requisite, and then you follow it up with Confederate for the big hitting damage. Holy Circle, just like Holy Spirit, also 2,000, but this is an AoE potency, so if you're doing a rotation, you might want to be able to put this here. Typically, I was trying to put like Holy Circle over here to be able to do that, but I found that I really wanted Atonement more often than not. And so again, play with what makes the most comfortable sense for you in this regards. On the W cross hotbar right side, you can see here I've got Fight or Flight, Sentinel, Fight or Flight, again, damage boosting physical. Sentinel reduces damage taken by 30%. Rampart, another 20% damage reduction. Then you have Spirits Within. This is going to restore your own MP, same thing as Riot Blade, but the nice thing about this, 30-second recast as your HP nears maximum. So make sure that your hit points are full to get the full impact of 370 potency of an off the global cooldown ability. So that means I can still keep attacking. Say I'm doing this, pop this guy. I'm going to do Goring Blade. and then I can pop spirits within, and my life is up. It continues to do this rotation, and I can keep going about it. So this is perfect thing to weave into your actual rotation. And now that Atonement's up, I can keep popping this here as well. And that's the beauty of Atonement. I love that spell. Anyway, or in this case, weapon skill, excuse me. Then I have Clemency over here. I've got Arm's Length, and you'll notice Arm's Length, Shirk, and Interject, just like any of my tanking controller guides, are all in the same spot. There is no movement. There is no room for muscle trying to rethink about like, hey, where do I have that on this tank? Those are all in the same spot. Clemency is here as well as also listed. Well, actually, I moved it. So Clemency is here. It's a great healing spell. I used to have it on the expanded cross hotbar, but I have made some changes recently. So there we go. You guys get the perfect realization of that. Clemency is a healing spell that you can target to other people. Same thing, it benefits from Requisite as well. And again, Divine Veil, like all of this stuff, you can use Clemency on yourself coupled with Divine Veil to add that barrier, or you can heal others. Now, if you're healing others, you're actually going to get 50% of that heal to actually restore to yourself. So if it's the decisions between healing you and somebody else, like heal somebody else because you also are going to get the benefit of that healing spell. All right, let's go into cross hotbar 2 here. Intervene, we covered my gap closer. Then we have Shield Lob right here to be able to also, when from afar, you can pull enemies with this. This is going to be much more potency of a pull for, like, you see the increased enmity over Provoke. Provoke is just going to put you at the top of the list. I do see gamers pull with Provoke, and I'm not going to judge them for that, but you would benefit more from pulling with Shield Lob. There is really no downside to using that. Then you have Reprisal. That's where this cooldown is. And then I also have what I call Shield Low Blow as a macro. It will use my shield if I'm on the global cooldown, and if I'm off the global cooldown, I still can use that low blow, which is a tank ability, and you can see now that it is on cooldown. Provoke, like I said, is just going to put you at the top of the list by 1 point, so you want to be able to follow that with other things. And if you're doing a tank swap, that's where you want to follow it up with Shirk. Then you have Iron Will. This is your tank stance. If you want to be the one who's the tank, you turn this on. If you don't, then don't have it on. However, especially even in 2 tank content, you're never going to catch up to the other tank. There's really, like, hate in this game. I don't know. I got opinions about it. I'll save them for other videos. Hollowed Ground, just like with all of my other tanks, this is my oh no moment. So you can see here, this is going to basically make me invulnerable for 10 seconds. It's a fantastic ability, and it can save your life. You can see a massive recast of 420 seconds. And then we already kind of previewed Passage of Arms. That's going to be that amazing spell. And it's got a 2-minute recast on it. So you have a lot of options, especially for defending your party when tanking in this game. Now lastly, we went over the skills. I do want to spend some time with our macros, and that's going to be under system and then user macros, and I'm going to go into shared because that's where I kind of have everything that I've been working on recently. You'll notice earlier that I have from here the 1, the 2, and the 6. This is allowing me to focus target on any of these guys. So just like if you pause the video, if you want to look at what I've got written here, literally it's focus targets, enemy assign, target back, enemy assigned, attack 2, target focus. 6 in this case is just a countdown. So let me show you 2 in action. So if I've got, like, it works with more than one enemy, you know, like if you have 3 or 4, but really, like, it's just important to kind of put these markers on targets if you need some help putting out a kill order together. So you can see I've marked 1, I've marked 2, I'm ready to rock and roll, and there we go. And then if you needed to, if I applied it again, it would remove the markers themselves, but it keeps the focus target, and that's kind of the important thing. Whatever target you start on is going to be your number 1 target to kill, and go from there. Yeah, that's that macro. Hopefully you find that enjoyable. So for shield load blow, which I couldn't seem to find earlier, but you can see here it's shield bash the target and then low blow. That means it's going to use shield bash first if it's off the global cooldown, and if it can't, because I'm waiting for that to come off, then I can do AC low blow, and that's off the global cooldown, thus I'm not having to wait for it. And since this has a that cooldown, I want to be able to use my shield bash first. You can put this in any order that you want, but it's great to always have the ability to do a stun when needed as a paladin. So that wraps it up for the Paladin Controller Guide. Thank you all so much for checking out this video. If you feel like it earns your like, be sure to hit that like button and let me know if you do. I really want to welcome you here to the channel, and I appreciate the support. And if I can help answer any other questions or clarify anything, please let me know. I'd love to make sure that you have the best information when possible when enjoying this game. Anyway, again, thanks to all my channel members for hitting that join button and keeping mid-roll ads off of guides like this. It really helps, I think, overall improve the watch experience of these guides and hopefully helps keep, and so anyway, saying that, if you got a mid-roll ad, let me know, because YouTube should not be doing that. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thanks again for watching. Hope to see you in my next video, but until next time, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.